Well, that's awful nice, but that'll get you in trouble.
Yes, I know.
Serving my son. High school friends. Texas for training, and he's going to Kuwait.
Really?
Yeah, he's a lieutenant. He's going to work with a military contractor, actually. With the contractor, I guess it's like a coordination of cybersecurity. Military.
It's a great little pen as well as a stylus, but it also has a light on it, like when you're signing your name. I don't really need
In the
that.
dark?
In the dark, yeah, whatever. But it's a matter of, can you get it back enough so the light's not on? You need one, there's a bunch out there.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I'll lose it.
Speaks 7 languages.
Maybe if the light stays on, you'll find it.
Going away for a while.
Need it to be
Don't know how
Wi-Fi.
long it is. So the daughter's down there with a couple of small kids. And the in-laws help. The husband's originally from Bosnia. The in-laws help with the 2 kids while she works at the CIA. But the youngest doesn't understand English, she only speaks Bosnian.
I was the only person in Tim Hortons this morning, everybody else was making it through.
Yeah,
He's not a contractor.
It's called the American. It's called the American, and it's the Russian. But they have
Like, I didn't understand.
a great kid.
There's no socialization when you go to the drive-thru.
I know.
Nice to go in.
The lady said at some point,
Oh my God.
the line is
Funny. Everybody always says,
Yeah.
yeah, she's
So,
like, she's not, she's
understanding
standing, because she's like
Yeah,
this tall.
that you can jump.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the husband's just going away on assignment
Yeah, she's like 4'5".
for a while, for an
Yeah, so.
undetermined amount of time. So,
Do I need to start it, or is it
good
started?
to go. No, then, can't start yet.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting my bearings.
That'll help you.
Hmm?
That'll help you.
Okay.
Oh, the mic was on, great. Sorry. All right, well, welcome, everybody. This is our annual reorganization meeting, and so it's a little longer than normal. But we'll call the meeting to order, and apparently we need to do that with a roll call.
I think for this one we do, yeah, just so
All right.
we know who's here.
Harry, why don't you lead us off?
Okay, roll call, Eric Connor,
Here?
Todd Frgali is
Absent?
excused.
Yep, he is excused, yeah.
Harry Anderson is president, Dan Koyak,
Here?
Robert Runk,
Here.
Darlene DiCarlo,
Here?
Janine Chat,
Here.
Tom Sy,
Yep.
and legal counsel,
And-
Dan and Brian Seaman.
Thank you, I already twisted that up and had Harry do that, but thank you. Let's see, the meeting has been duly called and noticed to all members, and the regularly scheduled January meeting shall also be the annual meeting. First thing we need to do is elect a chairman pro temp. We need a motion and a second to elect Harry Anderson as temporary chairman for purposes of conducting the annual meeting and election of officers.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Harry?
Okay, so moved. We'll move into the election of the chairman. I'd like a nomination, please, to recognize Eric Connor as the chairman moving forward.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Darlene, seconded by Dan and Koyak. All in favor?
First one, we gotta do the roll calls, right?
Roll call, okay.
Yeah.
We'll do the roll call then. Todd Frgali is absent. Harry Anderson, aye. Dan and Koyak.
Aye?
Robert Runk.
Aye.
Darlene DiCarlo.
Aye.
Janine Chat.
Aye.
I believe that covers the,
Eric
The group?
can pick it back up now.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
and I'll hand the baton back to Eric.
Thank you. Next is the election of vice chair. We need a motion and a second to elect Todd Frgali to be vice chairman.
I'll make it. Oops.
Second.
Darlene first, Bob second, yeah, that's the way we do it here. And we'll do a roll call on most of all these initial things, and then at the end it gets a little easier. So roll call on the nomination of Todd Frgali as vice chairman. Harry Anderson,
Aye.
Dan Koyak,
Aye.
Janine Chat,
Aye.
Eric Connor, aye, Darlene,
Aye.
Todd absent, and Robert.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. Next is the election of secretary, to elect Harold Anderson to be secretary. I'll take a motion by
So moved.
Dan, thank you.
Second.
By Darlene, thank you. Roll call vote on the nomination of Harold Anderson as secretary. Harry,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Eric Connor is an aye, Darlene,
Aye.
Todd is absent, Robert.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Election of deputy secretary, to elect Dan Seaman to be deputy secretary. We need a nomination by
I'll make that motion.
Robert,
Second.
Darlene, thank you. So a roll call vote on the nomination of Daniel Seaman as deputy secretary. Harry,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Eric Connor is an aye, Darlene,
Aye.
Todd is absent, Robert.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. Next is the election of treasurer, to elect Robert Ruck as treasurer.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Darlene.
I'll second it.
You lost out this time. Dan.
Did I?
Janine.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
Thank you, Dan.
I didn't hear it.
Roll call vote on the nomination of Robert Runk as treasurer. Harry Anderson,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Eric is an aye, Darlene.
Aye.
Todd is absent, and Bob.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. Next is an approval of the management contract, which is really a reapproval of the existing management contract dated January the 14th, 2016, between the town of Lockport IDA and the town of Lockport. I guess I'll just slide in there the fact that we now don't have Mark Smith in there doesn't actually require any change in what we're already doing, so it's just a reapproval of the existing contract to the best of my knowledge.
I looked at it before.
A roll call vote
You didn't get
on
motions
that,
yet?
yep, between the IDA and the town of Lockport, and the motion will be made by
I'll make that motion.
Bob. Dan, you want to second that one?
Yeah, I'll second that one.
We'll put you in on that.
Thank you.
Yep, there we go. So the roll call, Harry,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Eric is an aye, Darlene,
Aye.
Todd is absent, Bob.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. Appointment of Chief Executive Officer, and that will be to officially appoint Tom Sy as Chief Executive Officer, known as the Administrative Director, pursuant to the agreement between the Town of Lockport and the Town of Lockport Industrial Development Agency dated 1/14/16. We need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Darlene, thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Janine. A roll call vote on the appointment of Tom Sy as CEO. Harry,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Eric is an aye, Darlene,
Aye.
Todd is absent, Bob.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes.
Just before I do the next two, just in case folks are asking, I have updated the amounts for both the chief financial officer and legal for our 2020 approved budget.
Yeah, so it matches the budget
Mhm.
that we've already approved. Thank you. Next would be the appointment of chief financial officer, to appoint Kathleen Carter at an annual contract rate of $2,416.44 as chief financial officer. You need a motion for that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Dan, and seconded by Bob. Roll call vote on the appointment of Kathleen D. Carter as chief financial officer. Harry Anderson.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Jean.
Aye.
Eric is an aye. Darlene.
Aye.
Todd is absent. And Bob.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Appointment of legal counsel to appoint Seaman and Norris LLP attorney for the Town of Lockport Industrial Development Agency at an annual contract rate of $28,559.13, which would be payable in quarterly installments of $7,139.78, and to authorize him and such associate counsel as shall be deemed appropriate to act as IDA counsel in all project closings at the established rate. We need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jean. Roll call vote, and looks like our last of the evening. Harry Anderson,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Eric is an aye, Darlene,
Aye.
Todd is absent, Bob.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passes. Okay, now let's just do unanimous consent, or we can vote, let's say it like that. Appointment of independent auditor. We'll need a motion to authorize Lumsden McCormick LLP to perform the annual audit of the Town of Lockport Industrial Development Agency and to cause the filing of all required financial reports with state and local agencies at an annual contract rate of $4,750.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Darlene, and I think Bob won that contest. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Motion passes. Designation of bank depositories. We'll do a motion to authorize the treasurer to maintain accounts in the following banks at his or her discretion: M&T Bank, KeyBank, Northwest Bank, Evans Bank, and Citizens Bank. We'll take a motion by.
I guess I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll second.
Janine will second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Adoption of 2020 fee schedule policy and 2020 policy manual, which would be a readoption of the existing policy manual,
Mhm.
including the pilot policy. We'll do that by motion from
I'll make the motion.
Dan, thank you, and a second by
I'll make that second.
Darlene. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Establishment of regular meeting dates. A motion will be made to establish the regular meeting dates as follows: February 13th, 2020, March 12th, April 9th, May 14th, June the 11th, July the 9th, August 13th, September the 10th, October the 8th, November the 12th, and December the 10th, pending any other changes that we might vote on during the year, I should add. We'll need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second by Dan, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll announce a couple of appointments to committees. The audit committee will be Darlene DiCarlo, Harry Anderson, and Todd Frgali. The governance committee will be Janine Chat, Dan Kowiak, and Robert Runk. We'll do that by motion.
I'll make the motion to assign those committees.
Thank you, Bob. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jean. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go. And the best motion of the morning, commencement of regular business, so that we can end this part of our annual meeting and commence to the regular business of the regular meeting. Motion by
I'll make that motion.
Darlene, second by
I'll second it.
Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you. So ends the annual meeting, or reorganization meeting, whatever we're going to call it. Pretty good. And May 15th. Technically, I guess a little bit ahead the way it's reads. All right. So our regular meeting will start with Secretary's report and the approval of minutes of the meeting held December the 19th, 2019. I'm guessing those that were here had a chance to look over those minutes. And if no one has any corrections or anything, we'll take a motion from someone who was present to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion on accept the minutes. I was here.
Thank you, Don. Do we have a second?
I can second it, I believe.
Thank you, Harry. All those in favor? Any opposed? Is there anything else from our secretary for the month?
Not at the present time, no.
Thank you, Harry. Treasurer's report.
And I talked to Bob this morning, given that he really just volunteered as recently as yesterday. I said I would walk us through these
Okay.
amounts. We'll let him handle the bills and invoices in a second. Relatively straightforward, but for the 12/31, I'm starting with the balance sheet. You can see the $104,195 in the checking and $1,635,876 in the savings account. Probably the most notable item for the entire month was it really was as a result of sort of my transition and Mark's transition and diving a bit down into that Kate determined, and we obviously confirmed that we'd not been having secretarial support for the last 2+ months, and yet we had been charged for those. So this due from other governments is due from the town for, I'm going to use the word overcharging, but mistakenly continuing to charge for secretarial support when there wasn't any. So that's what that amount is. And later when you see what the charge from the town is for the month of December, that justifies why it's so low, to sort of make up for that. You can see what the property and equipment net, $948,594, so total assets of $2,691,057. Under liabilities, small number of accounts payable, 7,579. The aforementioned accrued liabilities, and then the final $10,000 bond payable that remains. So maybe also importantly, for the year ending 12/31/19, our net gain was $588,972, as well as some of those other items, the transfer of land and then the payment on the bond. So I think that covers the balance sheet in order. Next on the income statement, you can see the interest amount of $1,256 for the month. And then under expenses, really the only other one that's two things of note. Again, the management fee is significantly reduced to sort of recoup on the IDA's part that overcharge on the secretarial piece. And then you'll also note that for those of you that are new, we pay attorney fees and financial personal services fees on a quarterly basis. So you do see the final quarterly payment to Kate and the final quarterly payment to Seaman Norris. Other than that, we obviously did pay the $10,000 on the bond principal and some interest as well. So otherwise, I think that's fairly straightforward. And really on the statement of cash transactions, unless somebody has some questions. I don't have any. Obviously, the town of Lockport's much higher because it's rolled in the bond payment as well as those handful of other payments, and then just the two other small checks. So I think that covers it.
I think that looks good. We'll still do a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Bob, a second by
Second.
Darlene, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Eric, I do have one question. Sure. And, again, I don't know if this is the forum for it or not, but, regarding the income statement and the interest earnings currently being generated, again, I don't know if this is the proper segment of the meeting, but I'd like to discuss alternative, savings accounts to generate significant, amount of additional income through interest earnings.
Under new business, I think.
Yeah, let's
Under
take
new
that up.
business?
We'll take that under new business.
Okay, very good.
We'll go to Bob for invoices and bills,
For January.
that are due for January, that's right.
Okay, Town of Lockport, 3456, the standard contract amount. Mileage for Mark, last one in December for about $7. Our attorney quarterly charge, $69.66. Kathleen, again, a quarterly charge in December, for December, $589. New York State
Commercial real estate.
Commercial Real Estate, it's always, it's actually RA, which is always messes up how you say it. 2020 dues actually for 3 organizations. That organization, the Niagara Chamber, and the Economic Development Council. So $255, $225, and $850. In Fest Buffalo, we committed to fund that activity, and we continue to get back through them for $5,000. The maintenance agreement for our computing.
It's really info, that's the info analytics.
Oh, that's info
software.
analytics. Okay. $545. And our taxes, our property taxes in the park for 2020, $54.41. So total payments in January going out of $23,334. And I would like to make a motion to pay those bills.
We'll need a second.
Second.
Janine, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. Thank you for that, Bob. Administrative Director's Report, on file.
Just before I give you my monthly report, I wanted to also point out that we do have in your packets, and I think we emailed as well, but this is easier, clean set of financial disclosure forms. If you've been on the board for a while, we really kept some going from probably for me when I was on the board literally 7, 8, 10 years ago with just some signatures and so on of no change. We've practically run out of room on the forms to note no change, but also with a few new board members and so on, I've included new forms, so I'd appreciate it if folks could complete those and get those back to me, and I'll put them on file. In terms of my report, I think everybody realizes it's literally my first official day, so the report may not be that substantive, but having said that, I really have probably spent, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 days with Mark, 2-3 hours a day going through some sort of orientation and transition, and then his last day happened in the office was on January 2nd, so I did stop in for an hour or 2 each day just to check the phones, answer emails, and so on. So Mark was certainly well prepared for the transition. He and I reviewed a great deal. Having said that, I'm trying to limit my emails to him to 1 or 2 a day of things that we didn't cover that have been relatively nitnoid at this point. That orientation even included a maybe more detailed park tour than I've certainly had before. So I just want to go on the record that Mark really did put an awful lot of effort, not only just in the immediate transition, but even roll forward to things like some significant prep work on the Paris report that's due in April and so on. So again, I'm sure I'll be reaching out to him, but he was well prepared, and I think we spent, a decent amount of time together. In terms of some of the board transition work, I'll just welcome again Darlene and Janine. Appreciate you guys joining us. I am 99% done with a new board roster. I just need to see if Janine has a cell phone to add. Otherwise, when I send the minutes out, I will include a new 2020 board roster, so keep an eye out for that. But that's 99% done. And for Janine and Darlene, I will schedule a board orientation session sometime in January. I realize for you all, it's even more of a quick turnaround with not having an opportunity to do an orientation session, but I will schedule those and give you all the wonderful policy and procedure manuals and everything else you'll need. As far as my initial plans, I guess I'd call it kind of a blend of housekeeping and orientation just to here in the office, but need to begin now the search for the administrative assistant / secretary. So all kidding aside, if folks happen to in their walk be familiar with someone that's appropriately skilled but interested in a part-time administrative assistant / secretary, I'll welcome any and all sort of recommendations on that. I think the other aspect, obviously, will be I do have business cards already, so I'll begin as early as next week to begin to sprinkle in face-to-face appointments with either park and or pilot partners / recipients of ours, but also the obvious partners, resources, collaborators, think Niagara County IDA or Invest Buffalo and so on. I do have a pretty significant list of those put together. Either tomorrow or Monday, I'll make sure there's an introductory letter that goes out to same pilot project folks as well as our partners and collaborators, just introducing myself, sharing email and phone numbers, and letting them know I will be contacting them to establish a face-to-face appointment. I think as I looked at the list, it's some 40 appointments, and that doesn't include any of the town staff. I think if I'm going to be a part of the town, I really like to get to know folks probably better than I do. For example, I may know who Joe Leaderhouse is to say hello, but there's a fair amount of interaction between the IDA and the assessor's office. So just to make my point, I'll schedule some time to go down and meet her and get a little 1-hour orientation to her office as well, just to give you an example. I have signed up for the New York State Economic Development Biannual Conference, which is the 29th and 30th of January in Albany. If we think a motion makes sense for that, the fee for the conference is $295, and the hotel is $140, and then whatever mileage there would be. I've also inquired, the Economic Development Council offers twice a year what they kind of refer to as the IDA Academy. There was one in November. I have reached out to our contact there, and the next one is in either March or April, so I'm going to want to sign up for that as well. But I think these biannual conferences from a networking perspective, and even just seeing, by then the governor's budget will be out, and we'll see what else is up from an economic development perspective. So I do have that booked as well. But I think that's it, other than one item that we need to go into executive session for, but happy to answer any questions folks might.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. I got all that first day paperwork to fill out later today and all that fun stuff, but it's good. Like I said, Mark really had us well positioned, so there shouldn't be too many toe stubbings, but I'll let you know if there are any.
Well, why don't we make it official on the plan for your expenditures at the end of the month, just to start with a nice clean slate. So you said $395?
$295.
$295.
And then $140 for the hotel, and then whatever mileage.
And there'll be a little bit of taxation on the hotel and that sort of thing. So why don't we, pending any little minor adjustments on that, why don't we make a motion and approval to know that we're going to be reimbursing or spending that money? If I could have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Bob.
Second.
Second by Darlene. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And then Mark had, frankly, I didn't chat with him, scheduling subcommittee meetings. do we typically do one in February?
We try to get them as early in the year as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, governance, certainly we could do.
Yeah, the audit, we should wait till the audit's done, right,
Yeah,
to review that, so,
yeah,
okay,
sure.
Governance, we usually do in February, that half hour before
right.
Sounds good.
the regular meeting.
All right, so that would be February the 13th, basically at 7:30.
Mhm.
Does anyone on governance know that they have a conflict for that day, since the committee is only 3 people long? That would be Janine, Dan, and Bob. Dan, would you be able to make it that day?
I don't know for sure at this
Okay.
point, till someday I go back to work. I'll be back to work by then, so, as soon as I know.
Okay. Well, and Janine, as far as you know, you're okay? Okay, so tentatively, let's go for that then? That's okay with you, Tom?
Works fine, yeah.
Okay. And audit-wise, when does Lumsden usually clean them up, clean up all the drafts? Because they usually
Early.
kind of kick a draft out, we look at it,
Yeah.
find any issues if we have it. Because it's done before the Paris report has
Right.
to.
So probably March,
Yeah,
I would think March.
Paris is in April.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so audit can kind of assume maybe an April, meeting, probably the same sort of idea, 7:30.
Yeah.
Before that. All right. Attorney's report. Dan or Brian, you got anything for us?
I just did one matter for executive session, that we
Okay.
can do that after everything else.
Okay. Any old business, Tom, that we need to discuss that was lingering out there?
Mhm.
Okay. New business,
Just before we do Harry's real quick, it does obviously make sense for a new board picture, so I'd love to suggest February 13th board meeting for that. If you can make a note, I'll make a note in the minutes and on the agenda, but
now you really have to
I will
Photoshop.
Photoshop you.
You'll be the floating head up in the corner of the picture. Yeah. All right, so let's shoot for that then, February the 13th for board picture. That's a good idea. I thought of that earlier today, but not in the moment, so good. Thanks, Tom.
Mhm.
All right, so new business, Harry, why don't you take it away?
Yes, as far as new business, looking at the balance sheet and in the income statement, and the interest earnings being generated every month, I believe there's a significant opportunity to dramatically expand the interest earnings by taking a look at online banking, at least for the savings portion of the IDA balance sheet. I've done some preliminary calculations, and I believe we could be able to increase interest earnings by probably 75% more than what is currently being generated by using the local institutions. It could be as much as, based on the current savings account balances, as much as an additional $10,000 to $12,000 a year in terms of IDA interest earnings. So I'd like to put forth a new business that exploration of online savings bank options be explored to significantly enhance interest earnings for the IDA savings account balances.
Did Sally look at online the last time we did this? I don't think she
Not that I recall, no.
I don't believe so, because our focus has always been the local banks that are doing business within the town.
Right.
That's how we come up with the list that exists as it is. Like if there's a
Those
name,
four banks.
yeah, if there's a name that you might think of that's local, but if they're not here, that's why they're not on the list. So, we don't have any fundamental problem with doing it. Our mandate is actually quite broad in the bylaws, so it would be fine.
Okay.
Fine to do it and fine to examine it further.
I think part of that explanation, we can chat with Kate to make sure that from the funds transfer piece, because I think that's the only thing I can see, is to make sure that that remains somewhat simple, safe, and straightforward, yeah.
We also just need to make sure that we're complying with the regulations and the laws on our investments. We're not free to invest in the same way as a business would be. We have to follow the laws. And that's why for a long time we were getting almost no interest, was
Yeah.
because of the collateralization requirements that are on IDA investments. So we have to make sure that if we're gonna use an online bank, that they're familiar with and willing to do that.
They're all FDIC insured, and, again, their collateral positions would probably far outweigh the collateral positions of any of the local banks.
They have to
But there's
designate
actual
specific
contracts they
collateral.
have to be entered into
Okay.
and whatnot.
No,
Yeah, so why
I
don't we,
think it's worth the opportunity
Yeah.
to
are you willing
explore.
to, put in the legwork?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we make a motion? If no one has a problem, obviously it'll show up in the motion. Why don't we make a motion to authorize Harry to investigate? Harry would be free to work with Bob as treasurer to work out any kinks in the discussion, and then you guys can bring it back and present it in February if you're ready.
I would like to request, as I go down that path, request, whether it's been meeting with Tom or yourself, to understand
Yeah.
exactly what the contractual collateral requirements
Sure.
are.
Yeah.
Before I
Me and
expend
Brian.
a lot of effort, in a direction that's not gonna meet the requirements.
Yep, okay.
You can do it. Well, Brian and I'll sit with you, sure.
Cool. All right, so let's do that as a motion, just since Harry's not the treasurer, we're authorizing Harry to kind of take on some of that investigative duties, and we'll cooperate in terms of helping that along, and then, Harry and/or Bob, 'cause technically when we do this, it'll be Bob making, the way we authorize the treasurer,
Yeah.
the way we authorize power to, handle the bank accounts, it actually lies in the treasurer officially, which is both nice and scary all in one. So we'll have Harry have the authority to do the investigation and coordinate things as needed with the rest of us. So a motion would be by
I'll be
make
happy
that
to
motion.
nominate Harry to do that.
Bob, and a second by
I'll second it.
Darlene. Thank you. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you, Harry. Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
So as mentioned by Dan and Tom earlier, we will need a motion to go into executive session for consultation with attorney.
So moved.
Darlene,
Second.
second by Janine. Thank you.
Excuse me, Harry.
pause while we uncork the camera.
The only problem is that'll take 10 seconds. But
Delay.
it's picking it up, it just, we won't see it on the screen for 10 seconds, so don't get nervous, so.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
It allows you to get back in your seat like magic.
Uh-huh.
All right, so if nothing else needs to be discussed, we'll point out that the next meeting will be Thursday, February 13th at 8 a.m. People on the governance committee plan on 7:30 a.m. Prior to that meeting, and Dan, you can let us know
Yeah.
if there ends up being a problem, and
Will do.
if we need to reschedule it, that's what we'll do, but we'll still, pending any other absences, we'll still be able to maintain the 8 o'clock meeting from a quorum perspective. And so with nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Darrell,
Second.
second, by Julian, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
You can have that down.
Welcome aboard, you made it through the first one. For Darlene, she's a boomerang, she's coming back. Yeah.